Hello everyone, and welcome back to the channel for this episode 28 of the Own the Map Challenge here on Monteith with me, Farmer Murphy. Well, it is a very early spring here on the farm. It is March 1st, and I have brought you in early for a very specific reason that we'll get to here in just a moment. But first, let me give you an update on what went on last fall and through the course of the winter. So we ended up selling $1.25 million worth of products off the farm. 725,000 of that actually came from dried corn, 72,000 from dried barley from that barley harvesting contract, and then the rest were bales, either straw or silage bales. And last fall we did $456,000 worth of contracts. So our farm income keeps increasing and our contract income keeps decreasing, as you might expect, as we buy up pieces on the map. Now, if we go and look at the map, speaking of which, you will see, let me just slide this up so it's a little more obvious. And you can see our balance is sitting at 2.79 million. We did get a little extra help there because we did end up selling our S7 harvester and our extra green cart, and we did that because I bought this field 6 here. This long skinny field you can see is ours, and it's this one here right across the road that was kind of a nuisance for us to harvest with our big equipment. We had a corn harvesting contract on this field, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to buy that field before we harvest the corn, and we'll keep the corn off of it, and we'll put grass in it. So that's what we're going to do here right away. Is we are going to seed this field with grass, so we don't have to worry about trying to plant or harvest it with our large equipment. But the problem is we don't have a seeder. We only have a planter. So let's look at the shop here and see what Tim has that he can offer us for a seeder. Now, we don't want anything too big. I know there's this John Deere one, but it's also really pricey if we look at it. That's $291,000 for that. On the cheap side, we have this Cochrane one in here, but it only puts down seed, and I want to seed and fertilize at the same time so we don't have to worry about that. So I think we're going to rent this Pottinger one. I've actually never used it, and it does take a seed and a fertilizer, so we can just get this done in one pass here. So let's just customize that. Oh, looks like, yeah, okay, yep, that's what we want. All right, so we are just going to lease and or rent that. So Tim will get that delivered to us here in a short order. So I will go and get that picked up and filled up with seed and fertilizer. And when I get back to the field, we'll start off with a seeding cinematic if all goes well. Workers have struggled on that field sometimes, so that plan may change, but that's what we're going to try and do. So hopefully we'll see you at the field with the cinematic. Catch up with you in a minute. Well, there we go. We got that job done. Now, the worker did okay, so I hope you enjoyed that cinematic. Guess I should throw the beacons on here because we're going to head out on the road. Now, with precision farming, I should have fertilized once the crop is up using crop sensors, but I didn't do that. I wanted to fertilize while we seeded, so I didn't have to bring our big sprayer in here. So if we get a little bit of a small yield penalty, that's fine. I do have a plan for going forward how we're going to deal with getting nitrogen on this field, but hey, that's a problem for another day. So I'm going to get this cedar back to Tim, get it cleaned up and returned, and I'm going to meet you back here at the farmyard, and we're going to talk about a total mix ration because I have made a change to the recipe. So let me get this returned, and I will meet you back in the yard in just a little bit. Well, we're back up here at the house, but before we talk about TMR, I need to make a confession. I returned that cedar to Tim, and Farmer Murphy did a bad thing. He went and looked at the used equipment market. So if we go in there and take a look at that, well, you'll see right off the top, there's a 6R. How long did I wait for one of those to show up? Of course, now that I don't need it, now one shows up. But if we look at the very bottom, he has a DB120 planter in there. Now, originally, if we go back over here, what we have now is we have a 1775, a little bit older version of that planter. And my original plan was to upgrade to two of these 1775 2022 version, and it is a mod and it's got more bells and whistles on it, and I was going to have two of those, and you can see that they are, it's like our old one, nearly 18 meters wide. If we look at the DB120, it is 36 meters wide. So it's the equivalent of two of those planters. And Tim has one on sale used right now. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to trade our planter in on that. And we'll do that here after we get done with the animal food. And we'll use that to do our planting this spring. So that is the plan. Let's talk about TMR. Well, I'd said earlier that I wanted to figure out how to add corn to our TMR mix for our cows. Now, there is a mod by Ritter, and it is called Adjust Animal Food Mod. And what it does, it is a PC only mod, and it allows you to modify the feed for any animals in game. It generates a file in your save game that you then need to go and modify, which is pretty simply done, and there's pretty clear directions on how to do it. Probably the simplest example is the one where you add the ability to feed your chickens oats. You simply go in the line that defines what the chickens can eat and add oats to that line. And when you save the file and start your game up again, bingo, you can now feed your chickens oats. And if you stay within the realm of what is, how should I put it, normal for a particular animal, like adding oats to chickens, it's just a different grain. That's all you need to do. Ritter mod takes care of all of the rest. And so if you're going to modify a forage mix, but you stay within the forage area, like changing the ratio of hay or adding clover or alfalfa, if that's available on your map, Ritter will take care of that. But when you want to do what I did and add maize to the equation, it's a tiny bit more complicated, because what Ritter doesn't do is adjust the forage wagons. Now, if we actually, let's jump in here and let's turn on the HUD here. And you can see that down on the bottom left here, that there is a maize line. Normally there would be the hay, the silage, straw, and then just mineral feed. And Ritter does add the Ritter mod and does add the maize line. But the issue is that you're going to have is forage wagons are set up to accept forage type crops. Actually, you know what? Going back into the store might be the simplest way to explain this. Where are our... There's the base game, and you can see the items that it will accept along the bottom. You'll notice maize is not one of them. So you can't, after you make that change to the animal food mod, that's all fine and dandy, but you can't put corn in the mixer. What I had to do is modify the mixer. So here it is down here. And now you see, basically what I said is to take anything that a mixing wagon can take, and then I added bulk, which basically everything you can put in a trailer. But I did that. I didn't add just maize because I wanted on other games maybe want to add barley or maybe soybean. So if I put bulk, I don't have to go and edit it again. So it'll take any bulk things. So I could put any of these items into my forage mix if I added them to the animal food mod, if that makes sense. So there's just that little extra step. If I were just adding in a forage type crop that like it's clover or alfalfa or something, if it was on the map, I wouldn't need to do that because it's in that forage group and the wagon would take it. But I had to go that little extra step further. So that's kind of a high-level look at that. If you have any specific questions, you throw them in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. I'm no expert on it, but I did mess around with it a little bit, and I will help you if I can. Now, that meant we needed some place for corn. I didn't want to go all the way down to the shop, so I put this silo in here, and it holds 100,000 liters. And so I put 100,000 liters of wet corn, or that is corn before it was dried in here. That needs to last us for a year, which should be enough. I'm doing about 10% of the mix is corn. But that wasn't the only change I made. I made one more. There was a mod available. Oh, shoot, I didn't write this down. I think it's called Take Single Objects or something like that. And this is on Mod Hub. And what it does is you can buy a pallet. Oh, let me zoom in here a little bit. Oh, I'm going to have to change my view too. You can buy a pallet of mineral feed. And then if I just simply do this, it allows me, oh, I need this again, to take one bag off that pallet. And so instead of adding a whole pallet of mineral feed, I can now just add that one bag into my mix, which is 25 liters. And the way I looked at it, if I've got a good healthy mix, like, and the corn adds a lot of protein to that mix, I don't need a bunch of mineral feed, so I just look at it as I'm adding some vitamins. Kind of my way of thinking. So, actually, you know what? I have gone and parked that right in the way, but that, of course, is the Farmer Murphy way. Back this up here, out of the way a little bit. And we'll make a feed mix and we'll see how all of this here works. Could leave that run and let it warm up. Open this up here. Now I did take out the bales from our storage, but I find it's easier to bring them outside with the old John Deere than to try and maneuver the feed wagon in there. So we have two unwrapped silage bales. Now we'll use both those silage bales, and we'll use the entire hay bale. When I modified that mixing wagon, I increased its capacity from 26,000 to 30,000. It just worked a little better for our bale sizes we have. We use two entire silage bales, one entire hay bale, and then I add 3,000 liters of straw approximately, and 3,000 liters of corn in our bag of vitamins or mineral feed. As you will see once I get organized here. I suppose I could have done this, but done this off camera is what I meant to say, but that's kind of small. Don't get to see this old girl run too much. There. That's the painful part done. Now the rest of this goes pretty quick. So let's go over here. We will jump in this guy. Oops, overshot there a little bit. We could do the same cab actually. Yes. Let's actually see if I can sneak and grab them silage bales first. Should be able to. There's this one. So you will see that our mix is 50% silage. Once it gets done grinding them up here. 7,500 liter bale, so 2 bales gives us 15,000 liters, which is half the capacity of our mixing wagon. That's exactly why I increased it to 30,000 liters. It wasn't much of an addition because it's 26,000 normally. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Push the bale over the edge here. So 9,500 liters of hay. Or 9,000 liters, I guess I should say. And not 95. Now we will take it up to about 27, as close to it as we can get. Just over there. That just means we'll add a little less corn in this mix. That's all. Not a big deal. It was a little bit slow. Jump out. Where have I? Or put this back on here. Now what I do is I just jump up on here. I find that's the easiest way. And in goes our bag of mineral feed. There is a little stand there, but you actually can't stand on it. So I just jump up there. And now we run over here. We don't need all that business in the way. And we can throw in our corn. And this is the part you can't do unless you edit the forage wagon. Or to accept. And what I recommend is rather than, like I said, doing just one particular crop, just assign a bulk to it, and then, whatever changes you want to make to the mix in the future, you never have to change it again. But there you go. There is 30,000 liters of TMR. Approximately 10% is corn. Actually, we'll turn this back on. It's so close that it does say it's 10% corn down there. 30% hay, 50% silage, 10% corn, or 10% straw, I should say. 8% corn, I was wrong. And, well, the mineral feed doesn't even register because it's got so little in there. But there we go. That is how it's done. And so we will fill up our corn silo here at the main house every year, and we'll feed some of our corn to our animals. And I took that corner too sharp again, and I'll tell you what, that's not the first time I've done that. Not that smart, apparently. There we go. All right, get this dumped in there, and I will see you, I guess it will be next month when we're ready to plant, I believe it is, and we'll check out our new planter. So I will see you then. Welcome back to the farm, everybody. It is planting time, or darn near planting time. We're going to have to wait one more day. It rained overnight and rained into this morning, so the fields are a little wet, so we'll have to get started tomorrow. But I have our planting gear all set up, and as I said I was going to, I did buy the DB120, and I equipped it with the loading auger for loading seeds in the field, and also equipped it with liquid fertilizer. Now I have our 8RT hooked up to it right now, and on paper it should pull it okay. Might end up being a little bit light, and if that's the case, we do have options in the shed. But we're going to see if we can use this tractor to do it. And I did put the crop sensors on here. Now, after I rolled the grass field, our reported yields were at 100% of maximum. So the only potential loss there we'll have is the fact that we didn't use crop sensors when we put the fertilizer down on the precision farming score. And I have heard from a little birdie that if you put the crop sensors on and turn them on when you're seeding like this, that you will still get your full precision score. So we're going to give that a try. It's not going to impact our yield. All it may do is knock a few points off our precision farming score if it doesn't work. But we're going to give it a try this year because it saves us a pass in the field. And we have a couple other new items here. So that we can refill our planter in the field, I did a long-term lease deal on this grain truck. So it holds 22,000 liters of seed. And then I bought this liquids tanker, which will haul 8,000 liters of liquid fertilizer. So we'll take these out to the field and we'll be able to refill there, because I'm sure we're going to need to do that now. We have so many fields to plant. But speaking of that, there is one more thing we need to discuss before we head into the fields tomorrow, and we'll do that by looking at the map here quick. Now, as you may know or may remember, we are leasing field 17, and that lease should expire next month if I counted on my fingers and toes correctly. That is the hope anyways, because we need to prep that field, and then, well, we've committed to buy it first off, and if you click on it you can see it's worth almost 1.6 million. We've committed to buy it, but if we were to prep that field now, by that I mean scan it and lime it, once the lease expired, I've learned from experience that all resets and you have to do it again. So we need to wait for the lease to expire so we can buy that field. But I was talking to that farmer, and he has another field and he wants to get rid of it, and he is unwilling to enter any lease. He wants to just get out of this area altogether. And that's this big field 15, which is worth 2.5 million. So I've been talking to Bill, and he agrees if we don't pick that up now, if we want it, then we're going to lose the opportunity to get it for some time. But that means we need to take a loan, because we basically have enough cash on hand. You see, we're at 2.7, that we could buy that field outright. Then we would need to borrow the 1.6 for this field. So basically, we'd also need to borrow a little operating capital. So I'm thinking $2 million, but we're getting what, almost $4 million worth of fields, and we have to borrow 2, so we're putting 50% down. But, you know, it is not the best time. If you look at the bank rates here, the interest rates are not the best right now, not as good as they were. But, you know, like they say, it is what it is. You can see the bank, I've talked to them, and they'll loan us up to $11 million. So we've got lots of credit. So why don't we go ahead and do that right now? We're going to borrow $2 million. It is a mortgage on land, so we could do it over 35 years. Ooh, 10 grand a month. Ouch. All right. The Lord hates a coward, as they say. Oh, no, we already did that. We don't want to do that again. So we can buy that field now. So I am going to have to adjust my crop plan here a little bit, because I'm pretty sure that field had corn in it, so it's due to have soy. So I'll think about that. And once I get that decided, we'll get set up on a cornfield tomorrow morning and start planting. So I will see you at the field tomorrow. Catch up with you then. Welcome back to the farm, everyone. It is time for us to start planting in earnest. But I thought I'd let you know before we did that everything worked out as it should have. So we now have purchased field 17 down along the bottom with our grass section. So all that we need to purchase now is field 2, 4, and then 16 and 21 in this corner. We did buy that big field 15 that we borrowed $2 million to do. You can see we're sitting at $539,000, so that's what we have for operating capital. And one difference this spring, we do actually need to prep field 15 and field 17 on top of planting them. So it's going to be a busy spring here on the farm, so this big planter will really help. But let's jump in here, and I'm going to start to show you this unfold, and I am going to hit the unfold button now, and you will see it takes some time. So I'm going to show all of this in the cinematic, the complete unfold, but I'm going to speed it up, use a little artistic license, as it were, because it does take a while for it to totally unfold and unfold those winglets. I'm going to estimate it takes about a minute, something like that. So I just wanted to let you know what you see in the cinematic will be sped up. There was one more thing. Oh yes, for those of you who are interested in a deeper dive into the financials, I'm going to do a bit of a review. It won't take too long, but just to look at what we owe and how it's going to impact plans here in the future after the cinematic. So stay tuned for that. But enough of this kibitzing. Let's get on to the cinematic. So sit back and enjoy the tunes. back, everybody. Hope you enjoyed that cinematic. And you probably noticed an equipment change partway through. I did say it was playtesting after all, and that was the addition of this trailing fertilizer tank. And the reason for that was simply that this tank here on the planter ran out. It only did about half a headland. So we were going to have to fill that sucker a lot. So that wasn't going to work out too good. So I went and swapped out the tanker we had as a fertilizer tender for this one. And really the only reason I did that was to put this one in that had a larger tires, more appropriate for dragging in the field. So this one, though, is the closest one. So it has 2,000 liters more capacity, 10,000 liters versus 8. And we used just about all of it on this field. So we are going to have to fill it for sure after every field. And on the big ones, we will need to fill it during the course of planting in the field. It's not going to make it. Now, because I put that on there, you'll notice the underfirst seed conveyor is gone. And that's because it was too long and it interfered with the trailer. Although there was no collision on it, I couldn't stand looking at it, being partially in our fertilizer tender. So that had to go. So that meant that our seed tender wasn't going to work anymore either. Now I did try a bunch of different combinations of things, try and find something I like, or something I liked and it would work. Because I like what we had going on there before, but this is what I ended up with the underfirst, or no, sorry, the fiber spray trailer with the underfirst conveyor for it, or underfirst seed tender, I should say. Now this only holds 8,000 liters compared to the 22 that we had before, but you'll see when we take a look at the planter, we didn't go through that many seeds. So I think we'll be fine with this. And just to hedge our bets here, if we run around the other side, you see I've got a seed box of corn seed on here. If you could see that. Oh, there's a zoom in. You can get these pro boxes and actually put the seed labels on. So I really like that. So we have an extra 1,500 liters of seed in there. And then these pallets that you see that are strapped to the deck, they are the soluble fertilizer that gets mixed in this manifold, I believe they call it, with the water that's in our tank here. Now, the manifold only holds like, what is it, 210 or is it 240 liters? But interestingly, if you take these pallets and you strap them down, you have to strap them down, I found, it'll actually register all of those pallets. So that works out pretty good when you're filling the amount of fertilizer we're filling, because I mean, this works, but I found it to be a little finicky. And one of the things it doesn't seem to like is to be interrupted on the fertilizer side. I have to admit, I've only once had an issue with this underfirst seed tender. It's worked pretty good. But we're going to give that a go here right now. And fingers crossed, it all works, because it's Murphy and we are on camera. Things don't always go well for me when I'm trying to record something. Actually, I already did have one fail on the seed tender, surprisingly enough, because it's been the most reliable thing. But I tried recording and it would not unload. Oh, that's it. So we turn this on. So yeah, we used 18% of our seed. We got 3,600 liters still in there, and I think it was 44 or something it held. Oh, and I will mention too, you'll see our money is up a little bit. That's because that Fiber Dash trailer setup was about $100,000 less than what we had, the setup we had here previously, believe it or not. So now, fingers crossed, we should be able to just pull under here and our planter should fill magically. Let's get a top-down look, make sure we're on. Yes, it worked perfectly this time. Thank you very much. Okay, close those covers. Now, I haven't had as much trouble filling the planter with fertilizer, but I have had some issues trying to get the rear tanker to fill. And I think it's because it's behind the planter, to be honest with you, because when I use my pickup truck and pull it under, it worked flawlessly every time. But it has been somewhat finicky. I have come up with a process that seems to work. I took the hose reel option. I found it, I kind of like that there's a boom option too, and you can swing the boom out. But yeah, I was having even more troubles with that. So that is the module we need to be on. We'll put our pipe out, which will give us a magic beam of light to aim at. That's where our hose goes to. Yeah, that's the only trouble, like with the when you got the boom swings out partway there, but oh, it really didn't like that very much, loading the tanker for some reason. So now, if we come down here, and line this up on the center of our tank. Now, sometimes it doesn't want to start automatically, but there helps if I put it over the tank here. Nope. But there is a trick I found that usually works. Just jump in the truck. You jump in the truck, yep, there things are happening. We should find that our planter tank is full. Yes, it is. And now we can pull ahead. Well, swing around here a little bit. And this should autofill if all goes well. Yes, there it goes. So the trick is have those pallets strapped down to the truck, because if it runs out of the soluble fertilizer, then it doesn't like to restart. And it doesn't like it if you pull away and come back around. It doesn't like that, it seems like. But if you do it, follow this procedure. The only thing you might have to do is jump into the truck sometimes to get it started for whatever strange reason. It all seems to work. So I'm happy enough with that. And we can fill basically 1.5 times with the water we have on board, and then we'll need to go and grab some water, and probably need to grab some more fertilizer at that point too. But hey, you know, it works, and we can certainly do 2 or 3 fields. If we bring it out full, we should actually be able to do 3 fields, no problem, and before we need to take the truck back. And of course, it travels on the road way faster than the tractor. Oh, did I mention I had stop time? And I did that because I did all that messing around with different tenders on camera. Or on the clock, I should say. I didn't even think about it. So we finished that field. It only took, in real time, would have been, well, let's say 40 minutes. And so game time would have been like less than 2 hours. So we would have been done around between 10 and 11 sometime in game, but I forgot to stop the time when I was messing around with all the sleep tender stuff, so the game owes me a little time. I had promised, and I'll try and be quick here because this is getting long, I know, but I said I would go over the finances just a little bit because it's going to impact what we're going to do. So let's take a look here. Oh, luck we're having, we're on the bank. So we owe the bank $2.8 million, just a little bit more than that. And our monthly payments now are $13,000. Ouch. And I really don't like this 4.2% interest. I'm not too happy about that. So 2.8 there, but that's not the end of the story, because we've committed to leases for another 800,000. So what's that? 3.6 million, and that's another almost $6,700 a month. So we're about 20 grand a month. So now the bank is quite happy with us. We've got lots of credit. We've got lots of value, or lots of equity, I should say, in the farm. But I'm not happy with that. And so what I think I'm going to do is we are going to plant up these fields this spring and obviously do the other spring work that's required, the rolling, and we'll eventually have to do the spraying for the weeds. But I'm going to do all of that off camera. And I'm going to roll through this year, through fall, and into next spring. Because in order to complete this challenge, we need to be debt free as well. And I don't want to bore you guys too much with another harvest. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of put a pause on all expansions. We're not going to spend anything. We're going to roll all the money we make into paying down the debt a little bit. And so we'll do it at this point so that we won't have a long break at the end where I'm just cycling through with no changes to pay off a bunch of debt we've accumulated. So that's the plan. So you probably won't see a Monteith episode where you would normally see one. There'll probably be, well, I know there'll be something else because I've already got it recorded, and I'll get the rest of the spring work done, the fall work done, the debt paid down. We'll jump in at this point the following year, and we'll be ready to expand and take her home. Anyways, that's what the plan is. Oh, I forgot to mention this tractor did work pretty darn good. Um, where you thought it might have troubles, it did lug down one up the hills, but not too bad. I mean, certainly usable. But going downhill is where it has a bit of an issue. It kind of goes into an oscillation. I think because all the weight behind is pushing it, it has a hard time holding it back, I suspect. I'm going to try fixing that by slowing the field speed down, but if that doesn't work, we'll have to bring one of our big boys out for this outfit. But we'll have all that settled for you next year. Anyways, sorry about all that. That was certainly more than I had planned, but I wasn't kind of expecting a seed tender change, and I did want to kind of show that off a little bit. So, if you're still with me, I really appreciate you watching. And if you haven't already, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. And if you want to see when other content like this lands, hit that little notification bell. But for this episode here on Monteith, it's fun. Sign.